What up, hogs? Butter up your buns and get ready for a big serving of meat, because we've got a beef to pick with the internet today. You guys are listening to Super Despair World, raw, unpasteurized, and ready to fill both your gut and your head with some tasty, tasty worms. If you're new to this diet and you want a little appetizer before sinking into the main course, listen up, because we've got a great menu full of little slop, servings of slop to sink your teeth into.
Yum, yum, yum. Come and get it at our Patreon. Patreon.com/superdespairworld, where you can join us for a value meal of a sinister $6 to get access to our incredible bonus episodes. And you can donate to the $2 tip jar for access to our Discord with some lovely people who have immaculate diets, no junk food here. And we also have a merch store, merch.superdespairworld.com, where you can get some amazing stickers with the art from some of our episodes, more to come in the future. If you do any of these things, you will start detoxing immediately from your disgusting Western diet, which is poisoning you by the day. So get in there. Make a difference for yourself and others.
Yeah, all other podcasts are trying to sell you guys poison. We're the only ones out here trying to sell you the cure, and big tech has censored us. So every sticker goes a long way towards fighting that. Yeah.
Kellogg's really hates us for this, but we're truth tellers, and it's a hard job. It's a lonely job. Somebody's got to do it. And there's the only way to support us is directly, because HelloFresh probably isn't going to do it because they have too many refined vegetables in there or some shit. I don't even know.
If we can sell just 10 packs of stickers this month, that means we won't need to use any animal products in the next run of stickers. So please consider that if you want to save the animals.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just don't care about the platypus, who's endangered now because of you. Unless you buy stickers.
Did you know those things are venomous, apparently? I had no idea until just like a year ago or something like that.
I actually just learned that today, because I do that, the like New York Times, they have like the
they've got 100 little games like those.
Yeah, so the like word search one for today, strands or whatever they call it, it was like venomous animals, and it was like scorpion and bee and shit like that. And then the last one was platypus, and I was like, wait a second. And yeah, I guess a male platypus has like a venomous claw that fucks you up.
Yeah, the platypus is really one of those creatures where it's like God was making the earth and he was like, let's get weird with this next one in every way.
I guess when like early like explorers and scientists found like a platypus body, they thought somebody just like sewed together like a bunch of random animals, because that's really what they look like.
I've got a great idea if we ever want to move into the prank YouTuber niche. Now that you mention that, No,
exactly.
Not really.
Man, bear, pig.
Exactly. We're gonna be talking a lot about food today, and it's gotten me a little self-conscious about some of the things I've been eating lately. And I like to joke in our Discord and with my friends that I'm kinda like Romanian peasant pilled, the way I could just like basically live off of like nothing but like polenta and sausages for like an entire month or some shit like that. And I think I might have had my most peasant pilled meal yet just 2 or 3 days ago.
Oh yeah. What? Oh! I did see the.
You saw it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at my house, we recently got a big ol' helping of turkey, just like a big raw turkey or something, because it was on sale, and I was like, fuck yeah, this seems like a good deal. So my mom decided to turn a lot of the turkey skin into these like little fried up skins or whatever. It's kind of like pork rinds except from a turkey, basically. And they were a little too crunchy to eat by themselves, so we decided to grind those up with a big old helping of lard. And then I took some of that like turkey skin lard paste and I put it on some bread, and I put some like diced up onion and salted the shit out of it. And I will say, it's really fucking good. I don't know what to call it, but I feel like, man, I feel like I could go till a field at like 3 a.m. after eating that.
Yeah, that's definitely some peasant maxing shit. Because that's like super high energy food, and it's like simple and easy to eat. So yeah, that's definitely something you eat before, planting, sowing.
I made the mistake the first time I tried it. I was like, fuck yeah, this is good. I'm gonna have 2 slices. Guys, that's too much. If you mistakenly follow my advice, make 1 is enough. Just have 1. Don't have 2 of those.
Yeah, don't have 2 paste breads, you silly goose.
Yeah. Anyway, today we're talking about influencers, specifically in the realm of food, and specifically those that want to evoke a certain time period, like thousands, if not millions of years ago, maybe. I don't think humans have been around that long. We're talking today about this whole niche that I guess are like, they call themselves either like primal or like primitive or like, I don't know, ancient, any of these fucking synonyms, food influencers, some of which you might be very familiar with, but we're going to talk a little bit broadly, both about them just in general, and also 1 or 2 of them specifically as a good case study. How should we broach this initially?
Well, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of it's a near and dear topic to my heart, because I used to be really into this shit when I was like, in like an undergrad and college, because you always find, like, when you find out about these kind of like niche communities, it's kind of like, oh, cool, like hidden secret knowledge. And if you just keep going down this rabbit hole and doing quote unquote research, you're going to find out all these things you've been doing, like eating bread has been killing you this whole time. And if you just listen to these people and read their blogs and shit, well, you're going to find out the hidden truth, baby.
Yeah, my mom's kind of a crazy person in a lot of ways, but specifically in the sense that she's been using like the same email address since like 1998 or some shit like that. I'm pretty sure I remember registering it for her when I was in like elementary school or something. And for most of the last 20 years, I think she's gotten consistently this fucking newsletter called like Forbidden Knowledge or some shit, and every time she asks me to do something with her emails, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna like quietly delete it this week. She doesn't need to get worse or something like that. But yeah, I think a lot of this starts from what there's a term that we've put out into the world, and maybe other people have said this before, but you know what? We're gonna take full credit because we have 200 subscribers, so fuck you guys.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. We've put out the term the Contrarian Right, and I think when we talk about like right-wing politics or whatever nowadays, I think one of the big unifying factors is this whole like trend towards being like just big fucking contrarians about like everything in the world. It kind of feels like no matter how disparate some of these groups are, you have like, okay, there's like the trad cath Nazis versus like the pagan Viking Nazis, but they somehow get along, or there's like the big money grind set type of people versus the like I'm sure there's an opposite of that too. I don't know. It's all kind of incoherent, or like the Andrew Tate, just fuck all the women you want versus the like, oh no, you have to be celibate, you have to give up like women entirely. I don't know. It all doesn't make sense. But I think the big like thread that kind of unifies a lot of like people within right-wing politics, right, is this sense of like contrarianism, where it's like anything that's like commonly understood or kind of like accepted in society, we're just gonna like take the opposite side because everything that's normal, I guess that's associated with libs or some dumb shit. So we're just going to take the opposite stance and make that like our entire brand. And I think maybe to start off talking about a lot of these influencers, right? I think a lot of this might stem from this kind of like deep-seated rage towards like vegans and vegetarians, because I guess they're typically considered like kind of left-wing, kind of hippie types. Not always, but like that's the usual trend. Am I making sense so far?
No, for sure. I mean, it's horseshoe theory, and it's a tendency for a lot of people to turn towards some sort of evangelism to deal with, I don't know, whatever anxieties they have in their lives. And it's interesting too, because a lot of this shit, like veganism, for example, or like the whole like 9/11 truther thing. It used to be more aligned with like leftist, like, or more liberal shit. Like, I remember when I first started listening to like Alex Jones, for example, it was more of like an anti-Bush, anti-establishment thing. And now somehow all of these people have like aligned themselves with the right, which, I mean, I guess that they're the face of anti-establishment, even though they're fucking not. So
yeah, do you remember fucking what was it called? Occupy Wall Street. It's kind of weird looking back on Occupy Wall Street and how a lot of the people on like both sides of the political aisle kind of got their start there. I know Tim Pool was like a big Occupy guy for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't know. I remember, conspiracy theories used to be more fun and had this kind of like anti-authoritarian bent, regardless of what the actual authority is. And I think one of the things I've noticed, at least, over the course of my lifetime, I was on the internet back in like the late 90s, early 2000s as a kid, just like taking all this stuff in. I even remember like meme culture back then, fucking like 2002 funnyjunk.com. It seemed to me like every single day people were posting like some little shit posts and memes about like how George Bush is basically like a dumb fucking gorilla or whatever. And true, that's probably where I got a lot of my politics to
indeed.
this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too, is like, I mean, I'm going to bring up Alex Jones again, but like, he used to be fun. He used to just be like a fun crank, and he would spit facts once in a while when it's just like, speaking
about the goblins, the goblins that are
speaking. I'm going to use the term really loosely here, but speaking truth to power. But not like, now it's just so funny that these people have just aligned themselves to the group of just like billionaire fucking people who are just like looting the American public and all of the coffers to like aggrandize themselves, and they're just like, and they're dick riding these motherfuckers all the way. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of the point that I was getting at in a long-winded sort of way, right? Where a lot of politics or whatever on the internet when I was a kid or whatever, they were very stupid and loud and kind of like boneheaded, just like today. But the internet back then, I think there was something more organic and real about it. Like, I think a lot of the sentiment about how George Bush is a dumb motherfucker back then was absolutely correct, because at least at that point in time, this is one of the stupidest fucking people, one of the worst like speakers, rhetoricians, or whatever that we've ever seen as like a public figure, like a world leader at the time. And man, it sucks to say, but sometimes I look at videos of Bush speaking nowadays, and man, he seems a little eloquent compared to people like fucking like Nancy Mace or Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever, any of these fucking losers. And I just feel like the trend over my lifetime has been like, as the internet has become more monetized and weaponized by people with a lot of money and a very nefarious agenda, and I'm gonna call it that, it doesn't surprise me that a lot of this like anti-authoritarian sentiment has kind of just been like swallowed up by these like billionaire pieces of shit or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I did share that sentiment too, where it's just like, man, we are truly in a dark era where I like miss George Bush and like Bill Clinton and even Obama. It's just like, man, Since then, it's just been a steep fucking decline.
See, I've been going in the opposite direction, where like every day that passes, I feel like I have more and more resentment towards Obama, knowing like, oh man, he got really cozy with like the tech sector back then, huh? I wonder where they got a lot of the money they're using now. Maybe it came from that era, and I'm like, I don't know. It just ages worse and worse over time. But let's get to something else that ages really poorly over time, like the Liver King.
Yes, yeah. So the Liver King. I'm sure most of our listeners, if not all, are familiar with this guy. He's been a character and a face of this kind of just like absurdist dietary and lifestyle grift that is fascinated so many and truly gripped a few people who have just completely become deranged from it.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. As far as I know, I think he got his start on TikTok. I know he does like YouTube videos as well or whatever. I mean, all these people are basically everywhere on the internet, right? But Liver King kind of started out as this like TikTok like food lifestyle sort of influencer or whatever, and he talks about the value of this like this primal ancient wisdom whatever lifestyle, which apparently is based all around like eating raw foods, eating sticks of butter, like foregoing vegetables and like seasoning, and like I guess I don't know, all that modern soy bullshit or things like that. And it's kind of fucked up because, you know, I see he brings his family into his videos. I think his wife is into this shit too. I know there's videos of him like filming his shirtless minor boys eating these big fucking mukbangs of like raw meat and entrails on a table, and I'm like, I don't know, it lends more validity to my idea that maybe kids should not be on the internet, period, especially as like accessories of a fucking YouTube channel or some shit.
I'm a fucking hardliner on that shit. I've even gotten to the point where it's like, I don't, and I'm not the only person to say this, because I actually listened to another podcast.
How dare you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, it's just studying. You know, it's studying. Know thine enemy. Right?
Know thy enemy. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Yeah. But it was an actress, and she was like, yeah, I just like, I don't, because she was like recounting her past, and I don't think anything like too nefarious happened, but she was just like, yeah, like kids like shouldn't be in front of a camera like ever. Like just I don't know, just return to tradition where we just you know how like in old plays there were no female actresses, and it was just like dudes wearing makeup and stuff. Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, just find like really really short adults.
The hidden Shakespeareanism of VTubers or something. That'll be a great video essay.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, when it comes to like social media and TikTok and shit like that, kids shouldn't be on there, and parents definitely shouldn't be pimping out their fucking kids on there either. That shit should be like an immediate long-term jail sentence. You're an asshole.
Yeah, it's kind of been a hard pill for me to swallow, because like I grew up on the internet before that was like a common thing for kids to do. I've had basically like an unsupervised access to the internet since like I was like 5 years old in 1998, right? Which, okay, I owe a lot of what I am nowadays to being online that early, but I have to accept now, like, okay, the internet that kids are on nowadays is not the internet that I grew up on, for better and mostly for worse, in my opinion. I think it's a lot more weaponized towards like rotting people's brains towards certain ends, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you see like a lot of people are like selling things on here. I know besides the Liver King, some of the big early proponents of this like raw meat shit are old time friends of the show, Jordan and his daughter Michaela Peterson. They talk about, they call their own diet the lion diet, which is like eating nothing but meat. I don't know if it has to be raw, but they like eat sticks of butter and meat, and they forego like vegetables and shit like that. And I've seen like a fucking TED Talk or some shit where like Michaela Peterson is talking about like, oh, it cured all these different like unrelated health things, and I felt so much better, and blah 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 blah. And it's just like, man, it really feels like listening to a fucking like 1800s like snake oil salesman explain all the values of this shit ass little product that he wants to sell to these rubes.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a ton of different iterations of this, and a lot of them like there's like a hierarchy of how deranged they are. And like a lot of them fundamentally come from like, you know, don't eat fucking junk food, don't eat fucking potato chips and candy bars and shit like that. And it's
sure.
Like, yeah, and also processed food, which is kind of like a nebulous term. Like, what does processed food mean? And like a lot of times they're talking about like things you buy at a grocery store that comes in a fucking package. And like, sure, okay, fine. That's also like there's different tiers of like how bad some of this shit is for you, but
it's food it's food that's been put through the process, which I like to imagine is just like before the pigs are sent off to the grinder, they're forced to watch like liberal TikTok video essays or some shit like that to brainwash them.
For sure. And like a big cornerstone of a lot of these is talking about like don't eat grains. So it's kind of like there's always like a diet where it's like ancestral food, and like a lot of them go back to like, oh, you know, eat like whole grains like our ancestors did, not this like white bread and like refined flour and shit like that. And that's like, okay, I mean there's some scientific evidence to why you shouldn't do too much of that. But then it turned into like, don't eat grains at all, because our ancestors, Grog and Grok, no relation to the X.com everything app AI, I think at least. But yeah, don't eat, because our primal caveman ancestors didn't eat that, and they were like way healthier than us. Which, as a quick aside, my undergraduate degree was in anthropology. I'm not saying I'm an expert on biological anthropology or archaeology. However, I do know enough from my studies there to know that the knowledge we have on what our like early ancestors, even like early Homo sapiens, let alone like the hominids that came before us, is very, it's not very clear. But and these are like, you know, PhD researchers who have spent their lives researching this shit, and they're like, yeah, there's a little evidence that they ate this. They probably scavenged raw meat. This would make sense. And you know, there's like studies with you know, pre-contact people or.
Yeah, or like, yeah. Oh, we found human remains around this place where this plant grows, so they probably ate that if they lived there.
Sure.
Simple deduction stuff like that.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is these fucking paleo primal raw diet bloggers.
They have a million names for themselves.
Yes,
so.
We'll say with complete authority, they didn't eat this, they ate this, they did this lifestyle, they never ran, they only like walked quickly. And like climb trees and shit. So this is how you should eat, and this is how you should exercise, and this is how you should live your life. And they drank water with this, and water back then. It's just like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. You're just making shit up, man. You're just making shit up.
Yeah, and it applies both to like when they're talking about like ancient fucking like caveman era people, as well as when they're talking about like more contemporary stuff. And I mean contemporary in the last couple centuries sense, where we do have a better idea of how people lived because of like record keeping and just like their whole recency or whatever. But But
Yeah.
it basically, I don't know, it goes without saying that every single time one of these people talk about like traditional living, right, or how things used to be, they basically never give any like source to the claim. It kind of appeals to a sense of like what people in the audience believe to be intuitively true already. So they never have to like back up any of these claims. And I noticed this a lot because you see this a lot with a different corner of YouTube, which I'm not super well versed in, but there's a lot of people who do like history content about like the medieval period of Europe, right? And you have some real shit ass like channels like Shadiversity or whatever, this like weird Australian Mormon guy who likes playing with swords in his backyard or something. Total dipshit. I'm sure we'll talk about him at some point. And he makes a lot of like really dumb bogus claims about like the history of like medieval Europe or something like that.
Oh yeah.
There's some other channels, and the names are slipping me, but there's some like YouTubers I watch. One of them is this lady who does like textile work, like making like clothing or whatever with like materials and like methods that they used like a couple hundred years ago. And I gotta say, if you ever do study like medieval history like more closely, there's a lot of stuff that's like unintuitive and does not line up at all with like the fucking tropes we see in media and things people just like assume to be true or whatever. Like there's a lot of fun shit about like, oh, a lot of these like convents out in the woods where a bunch of nuns would live together, it turns out they were full of lesbians or something. Like who would have thought that that's what people do when they're locked up together for however many years or some shit like
shocking.
that. Yeah, but I don't know, there's a lot of stuff about history in the past that is like people just would never think it's true in spite of the evidence, because like it doesn't match up with what they hear in the media or like the cartoon image they have of how people lived in the past in their heads. And like that's the root of a lot of what this shit is based on.
Yeah, and you see this with a lot of chuddy people. Is it's like a lot of it comes with like from like media poisoning, where they get their entire conception of the world from like watching like King Arthur films and shit. And it's like, that's like a story, right?
Right.
Like yeah.
or how like people talk about like gender roles and like what is considered masculine and feminine, and people don't even know that like it was only about in around like the 1940s or 50s that we associated the color blue with boys and pink with girls, where it used to be the reverse, because like a long time ago people thought, okay, pink is like a light red is like a burning passionate sort of color, so that should be the boys' color, whereas blue is more like subdued and calm and serene or whatever, so that's like the color for girls. And like I don't know, a lot of the traditions people want to supposedly return to, if they're accurate at all, it's like, oh, this is only a couple decades ago, this is some like fabrication. Like the whole idea of the fucking nuclear family, like that's a very American thing and like
without
relatively
question.
Recent history,
Yeah, and like they used to like in America, in the U.S., they used to like dress toddler boys up in dresses just because it was like easier. Like it's easier to change your diaper and shit like that. But now it's just like if you did that today. And it's not like well, actually, the ones that I remember seeing is like they were kind of ornate. They were a little frilly, but
yeah, it's like a I think that started as like a Victorian sort of thing or whatever.
Sure,
about like I don't know, like let's be real, not to be weird about kids or anything, but like until a kid hits puberty or whatever, they all kind of just look like a kid shaped mass. I don't know,
right?
Like a lot of the way we gender kids or whatever, it's like, yeah, you cut their hair in a certain way, or like you make them wear these clothes, or you make them play with these toys from the gendered toy aisle or whatever. But like all of these are things we choose to do. I don't know. Kids are all just kind of like amorphous, like blob shaped entities. I don't know. I don't like kids that much, but
yeah.
Regardless.
And like as another example, like high heels were worn by men when they rode horses. For the stirrups, and also so they didn't have to like walk in the mud and fuck their shit up. In France, in the Napoleonic times and shit like that. But now, I mean, if you dress your kid up in a dress, your boy, or a guy wears high heels when he's riding through the streets on his horse, they're gonna say fucking it's woke. It's some woke, you're transing all of our people.
Yeah, this is going down a bit of a tangent from the whole food thing, but this reminds me of a classic image, one of my favorites that I want to share with you in Discord here. It's an image of like a little anime femboy or whatever, and it points to all the different articles of clothing he's wearing. It's like, this was worn by like a medieval king or something. Like, oh, these high heels were worn by King Louis the 14th or whatever, or shit like that. And it's very funny to me.
Yeah. To be fair, these are all either British, French, or Italian people. So,
I mean, you could also look at like a lot of cultures in like East Asia, right? A lot of things considered like masculine clothing out there would be considered like wearing a dress to Westerners, right? So I don't know. A lot of this is just like arbitrary bullshit.
Yeah. I remember for a Halloween costume, I was doing a cultural appropriation. I was young. Don't at me. But I wore. It was like a samurai thing, and some fucking doof, like some absolute dumb chud at this Halloween party was like, "What are you wearing?" And I was like, these are hakama pants, and this is a kimono." And he was like, "Only women wear kimonos. That's not a kimono." And I was like, "Okay, thank you for."
You should have sliced him in half on the spot.
Yeah, my mall ninja katana was in the shop, so yeah, I just committed seppuku later, but it failed. Obviously, I'm still alive.
Yeah, thank God for that. All right. Anyway, let's get back on topic here. I wanted to talk about one of the reasons. Actually, no. Let's put the brakes on that a little bit. Maybe to wet our feet a little bit with the whole raw meat diet thing. There was a little thing you wanted to share before we started, and that this might be a good place for it.
Yeah. So in preparation for this episode, I thought I'd kind of take a look at some of these people. I haven't looked at this shit in a while. I want to see what's going on in the zeitgeist of the primal caveman humans that exist in our modern society. And I found a fun little Reddit on our favorite website, reddit.com. That really exemplifies the eventual end game. Maybe not the end game. We'll see how it goes for these guys.
I appreciate that you didn't call it a subreddit, because we're about to talk about some very dominant individuals.
Yes. This is a dom Reddit. And this is called r/RawPrimal.
Oh boy.
And so this is the description is, this is RawPrimal is the primal diet by Aeginus von der Planets. Okay.
That feels like a made-up name.
Yeah. The recipe for living disease-free with clarity, strength, and energy based on raw meat, raw seafood, raw milk, raw eggs, unheated honey, and juice. And I guess this is some sort of like God King in these people's eyes. Everybody needs their fucking cult leader to dictate their entire lifestyle. Every
one of these like alternative health cultures or whatever, they all have like a few authors we've never heard of who are like the sacred like philosopher kings to these people.
Yeah, and they get their following, they start evangelizing, and then, hey, what do you know? At the end of all of these blogs, they're shilling a bunch of fucking, primal water and shit like this, and it's all like $180 for a 1 month supply of just some fucking shit you can probably get on iHerb, but but theirs is not raw or whatever, so it's gonna fucking.
It's not organic. It's not natural.
Yeah.
More fucking buzzwords.
Okay, so I got a bunch of little fun little selections here that I think are going to give us a pretty good idea of what we're working with here. So the first one is it's the title of the post is Favorite Meal Highly Recommend, and I'm going to drop a picture of this meal in our Discord here.
Oh boy!
And,
oh god! This
yeah.
looks like food goatsy to me.
Yeah. So the post goes, here is my favorite meal and how to prepare it. 300 grams raw beef, 3 raw egg yolks, 1 fallen soldier. I guess the yolk broke. That sucks. 1 teaspoon raw local honey and 3 tablespoons raw butter. You need to try this stuff out. Imagine still eating goy slop, just LOL.
Oh, that's icing on the cake. No pun intended.
Yes. So I'll drop this on the TV if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah,
can we show that on YouTube? I mean it when I say this looks like a puckered asshole.
Yeah, it's I might need to, just throw a filter on there. Just
Steve Harvey, like, you can't show that on YouTube.
Oh, he's just fainting the whole time. Maybe I'll throw that on there too. Yeah, so we
just
got,
imagine the Family Feud thing, like bing, and the answer is goy slop, like 100.
Yeah, so first of all, the eggs look like a dick. I don't think that's that might be intended. It's just kind of like a fertility ritual, because when you're eating raw egg yolks, a bunch of fucking random cuts of beef, and then just like some shaved cold butter. Yeah.
Listen, if you don't shove this down your throat, the liberals are gonna shove something else down there. So you gotta beat them to the punch.
Okay, so this dude's calling food that isn't this goy slop, which is funny. Now, I do want to say, in all fairness, there's actually a Korean dish which is similar to this. There's no butter or raw local honey, but it's beef, but it's like it's Hanu. It's like their version of Wagyu, if you're more familiar with that. And they put an egg yolk on there, and you mix it together, and it's basically like steak tartare. But it's prepared in a way that I think the beef is like flash frozen. It's very high quality. They marinate it in some shit probably to make it a little bit safer. And and it's served with a bunch of stuff that makes it, more palatable, including like an Asian pear, which if you've ever had that.
Those are the only pears I can stand. They're so fucking juicy and sweet.
Oh, they're fucking awesome. They're even expensive there though, so like I can only imagine how pricey they are.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I usually only get 1 or 2 of at the grocery store, like maybe once a month if I can find it.
Yeah. But I mean, that is a culinary delight, whereas this is like, I don't know what cut of beef that is. It looks like chunks of stew meat, which is like probably the worst kind of beef you would want to eat raw. Mm-hmm. And with like 3 egg yolk, and then just like a bunch of shaved chunks of cold butter. That would be a fucking struggle, man. That would be a struggle.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent, like, does eating this food for a long time, is it like an acquired taste? Do you just, like, kind of learn to put up with it? Or, like, are all of these people just, like, coping and lying to themselves, like, no, this is actually delicious. I'm not owned. I didn't fall for it again. I don't know.
I think you can learn to get used to it. And, I mean, like, when I was in my mild orthorexia phase, I would definitely eat a lot of shit that I didn't really love. But like I felt good about it because I was like, well, this is like super healthy. So like I don't know. I mean, I guess, but
Yeah, I've gone down some YouTube rabbit holes in the past. There's a lot of videos where like you see people eating things we would consider unpalatable, right? I think there was a video I saw. I think it was out of like Cambodia or Myanmar or something like that. It was this woman working out in some like fields or whatever, and she was harvesting these like big ol' spiders and just like grilling up some big crunchy spiders, and I was like, okay, the rest of this is just like a normal stir fry, and I'm like, would I be able to stomach that? I don't really have like a fear of spiders or anything, but I'm like, it's kind of crazy what people can get used to just because like I guess it's either part of their culture or like they can just like get used to eating that over time. I know there's a lot of like Chinese dishes that a lot of people are like, oh, that's gross, that's disgusting. Why would they eat something like that? But then I also know, there's a lot of basically, every time you see a dish in like in some other country's cuisine or something that looks kind of weird or nasty or something like that, a lot of these things are born out of like people needing to feed themselves during like historical periods of like poverty or some shit like that. I know there's the what's it called, the fucking like fermented shark fin or whatever. It's like a Nordic dish, something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. That's there's something like that in Korea, and it's called what is it called? I'm blanking on this right now. It doesn't matter, but right. Yeah, it's like some sort of fish skate or something, and it's like fermented in a certain way where it basically people are like, it tastes like fucking ammonia. But some people love it. A lot of people don't, but I mean, whatever works for you. I've eaten some crazy ass shit out there, like raw cow stomach dipped in sesame oil and salt. Not bad. Yeah, some of the shit that sounds weird. And then like you said, there's foods that you eat out of necessity, and then it kind of becomes a comfort food in a way. Like there's one out there, bondegi, which is it's like silkworm pupa.
Oh, interesting.
And you could still find it in like outdoor food stalls and shit.
Is that sort of like a fish egg caviar sort of deal?
No.
No. Okay.
To me, it tastes like what you would expect. They're not great. It's edible, but like, I don't know, if you grew up eating that, you might have an affinity for it.
Yeah, I guess so. We've talked a lot about meat. Do we want to talk a little bit about the raw milk people? Because that's like also a very adjacent thing.
This is coming up. I got a few more for you.
Oh, all right, let's go.
Okay. So that one was what it was, but here's another banger meal for these people.
Oh boy.
I just shared the photo with you. This one is raw butter and beef pate. Amazing. And the description is delicious, healing, fulfilling.
This looks like it came out of like a bird, like a mama bird feeding its chicks. Like this looks like pre-chewed.
Yes. So, all right. So I got a few more posts here, and they keep getting funnier and funnier. This one is titled "Urge to Eat Slop," and it goes, I find it really interesting that since I started eating raw meat and eggs, I feel the urge to eat slop, in parentheses, commercial chocolate bars, cookies, rice pudding, etc. More than
Don't
before.
I know it, brother?
Yeah. Maybe it's because I unconsciously, in quotes, want to reduce the detox. What are your thoughts on this? Any similar experience? Not that I never craved such slop before, but it does happen way more often now.
Seems like my body's viscerally rejecting what I'm eating right now and wants to go back to what I was eating before. Am I wrong?
Yes. So, an important thing to note here is the concept of detoxing. So you see this in all of these weird fad diet things. Is people will eat like a mono diet of weird shit due to some blog posts that they read, and then they start feeling bad and sick, but it's supposed to make you feel better, right? So how do we
how do we square that circle?
How do we square that circle? Well, you're detoxing. You had so many toxins in your body from this slop that you ate, like chocolate bars and rice pudding, apparently, that once you start eating this pure diet that we've been selling you, you're just going to detox. So anytime you feel bad or sick or tired or whatever, it's just detoxing.
This reminds me of, we talked about it in a previous episode. I'm trying to see which one. Maybe I'll find it. I don't know. We've definitely talked about this before, but I've heard the word detox also come up with some other like lifestyle grifters, like the no fat people. They talk about a pleasure detox. Oh, you feel like shit because you're used to gooning it out all day, and now you're not doing that anymore, and your body's like freaking the fuck out. I've seen other people talk about fuck, it's slipping my mind. What's the brain chemical associated with like good feelings or whatever? The
dopamine.
Dopamine.
Serotonin?
People talk about a dopamine detox, where it's like, I'm trying to cleanse my body of all the stuff I waste time on every day or whatever. And like don't get it twisted. We do advocate on this show, like, hey, you should watch less YouTube slop. You should get off of TikTok. You should like stop scrolling social media endlessly, like especially now because it's getting a lot fucking worse lately. But I don't know what I think it's a good sign. It's a red flag of some grifty bullshit going on when people phrase it as like a detox. It's one of those like flag words to me, is like somebody's about to sell you some weird like bioessentialist bullshit right here.
Without question. And we're gonna. So you brought up raw milk, and we're gonna start to get into this. I got a few more here with a real knee slapper at the end.
Let's milk it up.
Let's milk it up. So this one is titled, "I can't digest this meal well. I eat raw ground beef, raw egg yolks, raw butter, and some raw farmer's cheese mixed together. For some reason, my stomach does not like this and will digest uncomfortably and sometimes even produce gas.
For some
Why
reason.
Why is this?" Yeah. What? Okay. Why could that be? Again, it must be detoxing. We got another one here, titled "Raw Butter and Explosive Diarrhea Question." Every time I eat raw butter, I have explosive diarrhea. It's not that bad, but happens after a day or two, but still I have it, and I read in Angelus's book, this is the fucking grifter again, that you need to have raw cheese, but is there anything else apart from raw cheese I can have to stop? How long does it happen? Does it go away after? Am I doing something wrong? Or should I carry on what I'm doing and just consume more raw cheese?
Well, you see, the diarrhea represents the demons leaving your body, and that's good. That means the liberal brainwashing is falling apart.
So it's funny that you say that, because here's one of the comments.
Oh, no.
You must have a lot of toxicity that is coming out. That's good. Yeah, diarrhea is something that you have to endure, but if you look at the remedies in his book, you can see ways to ameliorate it. In some cases, it can last for a very long time. Carry on, you're headed the right way. And then another person says, doesn't sound like a problem to me, but yes, more cheese may help. Yes. For everybody listening, if you ever eat something and it fucks you up, eat more of it. It's just
you just need to get over that hurdle. It's like the meme image of the guy mining and getting very close to the diamonds. You just gotta keep mining. You gotta keep doing the thing until the result you want happens.
Yes,
no matter what that is.
99% of the people who stop eating poison quit right before they detox fully. So just keep doing that. Not
99% of the trans girls give up before they finally impregnate that boy pussy or whatever. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So here's another one. The title is just tuberculosis and a bunch of question marks. Apparently, there's a tuberculosis outbreak near me, and it's from raw milk. Any thoughts? There's one comment. It's just, don't worry about it. That's it.
That's so menacing in a way.
That's amazing. This is a second to last one. This is raw milk bad acne. Drank like 2 liters of raw milk, both cow and goat, yesterday, and my face went from literally glass clear skin to absolutely fucked. What the flying fuck is happening? I'm ripping myself apart. Help, boyos. Fuck me.
All right. Can I just say it first? I don't think you should drink 2 liters of normal regular milk in a single day.
To one of these people's credit, this is the top reply. How about you don't drink 2 liters of literally anything like a normal person? And their response, the OP's response is LOL, probably right. Then of course there's 2 people in there like, oh, you're detoxing. You're detoxing.
Of course. It's the evil leaving your pores.
Yes. Okay, this is the last one, and this one is a real knee slapper. I'm going to share the post with you because there's 3 images and trigger warning, ouchies.
Okay.
Possible, blood. There's blood here. So
okay, I don't know if we can show that on YouTube, but
yeah, the first one maybe, but the other 2 are so this post is titled "So I Cut My Finger." I'm not too deep into the RawPrimal way, but this shit has been hurting for like 2 days now. I think I'll probably just continue the course with the allopathic treatment. They basically let it bleed, cleaned it out with burning juice. I don't know what burning juice means.
It's juice that burns.
Yeah.
It's like the soup that makes you go blind for a day.
Right. So put a little methanol on there. Put numbing poison in, whatever that is. Stitches, then a weird dust that stung to help it clot. It feels so dry today. But say I did this again. What would be the correct course? I was thinking let it bleed heavy for a few min, put pressure to stop bleeding, rinse with spring water, apply some sort of acidic juice, pineapple, lime, lemon, maybe apply clay to help it clot, apply honey, butter, and raw meat, and bandage that up. My finger feels red and numb right now and is still actively bleeding 2 days into treatment. I wonder if I took the RawPrimal route, where I'd be today. I'm worried if I switch now, I'd introduce bacteria into a toxic environment. And at worst, I'd freak out and go back to the hospital and they'd cut more finger. And this dude, if you look at the fucking pictures, he like cut a piece of his thumb off.
Yeah, like the first 2 I was like, okay, that looks
muscle.
that looks like a grody injury here. But then I look at the third one, it's like, brother, part of your finger is missing.
Yeah.
I was talking about being fucking like peasant pilled earlier at the start of the show, and I'm like, I feel like this guy needs to start seeing a new like fucking village apothecary about these problems.
And there are people saying, so one of the replies, urinate on it after cutting to stop bleeding and sterilize. Apply lime to clean and arrest anything there. Apply honey and meat over. So apparently this dude that they're all following says that you should put raw meat on cuts, on injuries.
Does he specify what kind of meat? I feel like raw meat is a very broad category. I mean, not that it's a good idea regardless, but...
Yeah. Ajanus put raw meat on his legs when he broke them in a motorcycle accident. Raw meat helps, apparently, but this is an open wound, not broken bone and muscle IDK. Yes, I know you DK, for sure, but like this is... so that's the last one there, but I mean, besides these being funny, the reason I wanted to go over these is because like this is where this shit leads, man. This is where this shit leads when you're so deranged that because some fucking insane blogger who apparently this dude is dead now. I didn't look into it too much, but
well, that's crazy. You're telling me he died?
Yeah. Always a shocker. It must have just didn't detox enough or whatever. When you're telling people to slap raw meat on injuries, because like it's magical thinking, man. It's magical thinking. They're just like, oh, raw meat is good, so you just put it on everything. It's like, I don't know, fucking radium, like like the radium craze.
Yeah,
Like,
it reminds me of I think there was a conversation I was having with some people a while ago about how, and this is maybe slightly unrelated, but people are like inserting like AI into everything now, kind of how in the 1950s we put radium into everything to unlock the power of the atom, and it's like this seems like a weird marketing pitch. I feel like maybe this is not making the product better.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I guess people just want some like magical substance that just is like a panacea. And for these people, it's raw meat, I guess.
I don't know if you've seen this in your own life, but this particular brainworm has afflicted a lot of people in my family. I hear a lot of people are like paranoid about this idea of chemicals. They just hear the word chemicals and they're like, oh, that's something nefarious and bad and evil. And I'm just like, as you're describing this story of the guy who cut his finger, I'm like, well, at least he didn't introduce any chemicals. That would have made it a lot worse. I'm like,
oh, yeah. Yeah,
I don't know.
For sure. Yeah, the chemicals thing is funny. And when they're like, if there's something you can't pronounce on the food package, it means it's bad. And it's like, there's a bunch of shit that's like quote unquote natural. This
is very, very Libby and a little boomer coded, but I know a very long time ago I saw a video where somebody was like going around like a public park or something, getting people to sign a petition to ban, I think it was like dihydrogen monoxide or whatever.
Yeah,
basically the fucking chemical name for like
H2O,
water. And it's like, people are like, oh, they're putting this in everything? That sounds bad. Yeah, we should ban that.
Yeah, without question. And that's I was thinking of the same thing. And yeah, it's definitely like a smug like boomer / like intelligent Redditeur type of thing. But I mean,
sure
I
saw this video in like 2012 or some shit. So
yeah, absolutely. The peak of like intellectual internet user meme culture, but yeah, I mean, it is
before
true.
Real patriots took back the internet.
Yes. Yeah, maybe we could redo that experiment on Truth Social.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know do people even still use that? I feel like Twitter surely got to be chuddy enough for their liking nowadays, but I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is like Truth Social is like was always for them, whereas there's a lot of X.com holdouts that still refuse to see that it's basically fucking Gab, but like probably less functional.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Is this the time to finally bust open the jug of raw milk? I want to talk a little bit about the raw milk people.
Yeah, bust it open. Let's go.
Okay, so one thing I've noticed in all of this, right, when we talk about a lot of these fads, a lot of these like alternative health grifter like lifestyle things, a lot of this stuff is geared towards men, right? A lot of this has some presence in what we call like the manosphere on the internet, the Joe Rogan type of influencers, like, oh, you can do all these things to unlock your sacred ancient manhood. You gotta live as your ancestors did, shit like that. But one thing I noticed that's kind of interesting, you know, a lot of the raw meat stuff applies to those dudes. There's a bit more of a feminine side when you look at the whole raw milk phenomenon. One of the things that I've noticed is that this stuff has really popped off with what we like to call like mommy influencers. And I know what some people in the audience are thinking. One, get your mind out of the gutter, but two, it is kind of porn if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
Where there's a lot of people who like go on TikTok, and it's usually a lot of like 30 to 40 something like millennial white women who are like they don't really have any personality other than like, oh, I'm a mommy, I'm all about my kids, I gotta protect my kids, I just want to give everything to my kids, or whatever like that. And we've talked about them before, where a lot of the stuff they sell is like a traditional like homemaking kind of lifestyle. One, it's, you know, it's a lot of bullshit that was basically like made up in the 1950s. Like if you go far enough back in history, the way a lot of families worked was like a little more communal. The whole idea of this like nuclear family with like a mom and husband and like 2.5 kids or whatever like that. That's very much like a thing kind of imposed by government agencies and like religious groups that kind of want to bend culture to their will or whatever shit like that. But to bring it back to the whole raw milk thing, I've noticed this takeoff with like the mommy influencers who swear it has all these like different health benefits, and they just want to provide like a good healthy meal to their family, and they're all about like raising animals on like a farm or some shit if they're like millionaires that can afford to do that and like make fucking YouTube and TikTok content out of it. And the whole thing, I don't know, it's just very nefarious to me, and I think it sucks.
Yeah, it's really weird. They're all about a natural lifestyle that's healthy for me and my child, and like it's like where are you getting all the money to just like stay home and like buy all of this like super expensive fucking food? And they always have some like nice ass kitchen and shit, like, so it's like they're espousing a natural traditional lifestyle, and it's like your husband must like work in finance or something, or you just have like a trust fund from your parents or whatever the fuck's going on there. But
yeah,
it's
they kind of sell this lifestyle. It's like, no, anybody can do that. We all need to pull away from modern society and return to this tradition or whatever. But like they live lives of such like comfort and excess that can really only exist in like the fucking heart of the American empire and like the top 1% of like
without
income
question.
Or whatever. It's like, come on, who the fuck are you kidding? Like, I don't know, learn to be a little fucking humble about your wealth and privilege, maybe.
Yeah, and that's they're so like preachy and pretentious, and they definitely look down on like the lesser thans. I knew a bunch of people like this because I went to college in like in a hippie town, where there was tons of like trustafarians who they would like shop at the co-op and or like be vegan or whatever their fucking thing was, and just kind of like talk down to everybody else.
The new thing they heard about 5 minutes ago, and they're gonna be really into for like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I was thinking about this earlier when I don't know, just diet grifters and the Liver King and the Manosphere shit is like. A lot of my issue with this stuff is it focuses on like really biological shit where it's just like, oh, if you eat raw beef and egg yolks and you don't eat sugar ever, it'll just like you feel bad. That's the problem. It's just that. And like some of them, they'll have their cute little videos where it's like, I walk barefoot for 10 minutes a day and I jump in a fucking pond, and like it's all performative, it's all bullshit, and it's like they sun their fucking balls or whatever the fuck is going on. But
I love what do they call it, the ball sunning or
perineum sunning. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, an ancient Greek technique to gain power from the sun. You just put your fucking taint. you just tan your taint, I guess.
Yeah, if people are interested in some real ancient Greek techniques to improve your virality and your wellness, subscribe to our Patreon. You'll learn a few things.
Yeah, we'll show you a couple things, but yeah, it's funny because they just like ignore like the modern lifestyle, which I mean that part, like obviously the cottagecore like fake, like I'm a farmer and I'm going to milk the goats, and it's like then they like go back to when the camera's turned off, they go back to like watching Netflix or whatever the fuck that they do.
Or they go buy some strawberries at Walmart and then put them in the dirt and be like, look at the strawberries I grew.
Yeah, they put them in a basket and like act like they fucking picked those or bought them at the farmer's market or whatever fucking bullshit narrative they're trying to push. But like it reminds me of like, are you familiar with the whole blue zones thing?
No, I've not heard of this.
Okay, so the blue zones thing is this like idea, and it was popularized by some fucking junk scientist somewhere. A lot of this stuff is either extrapolated from some study somebody did once, or is somebody who's like a junk scientist who did some study and like cooked the data, and now everybody like sees it as fucking gospel. But like the blue zones thing is basically like, oh, there are some magical zones all over the world where people live super long. And why is this? Well, we got to go to these blue zones where everybody lives to be 110 years old and see what exactly are they doing to live this long. And there's places like it's like Okinawa, and then there's certain like villages in like Europe and like Italy and all over like Asia and South America and shit like that. So basically, when you look at any of these quote unquote studies, it's there's a couple things that are fucking problematic here. The first one is, so they'll do a whole treatise on like what these people eat. Basically, that's the main focus, and that's what gets picked up by all these like popular science blog in like fucking health magazines and all this other bullshit.
Yeah, and it needs to be said, not just when it comes to like public health or like food related stuff, guys. Science headlines are so fucking bad. They'll take like one tiny little thing from a study being like, well, okay, we found a planet that maybe is like a long distance away, and the color suggests it might have this thing, and that means if it has this thing, there's a chance it has this other thing. And then the science headline will be like, new Earth alternative found in distant star system. Whoa. And it's like, okay,
yeah.
It's all fucking bunk. Be very careful. Actually read the studies if you want to like follow scientific breakthroughs or whatever about any subject.
And are these fucking rags going to retract that when it turns out that this shit is all bullshit? No. They're going to run with it, and then they'll just ignore it.
They'll either ignore it, or they'll run a retraction in the form of like 2 sentences at the end of an article like 6 months later.
Yeah. So the reason I bring up the blue zones thing is so if you read these studies or whatever that this dude did, it's like, so they go to like Okinawa or some village in Italy or something like that, and they're like, oh, they eat a diet high in legumes and low in saturated fat, and they eat these things and this kind of oil, and they eat like fresh vegetables here. And like the thing is with these studies, like, sure, that's like good food and whatever, but like at the end of it, there will be of this mini little ethnographic study. There will be one paragraph at the end after 30 pages, like opining on the phytonutrient content of this food and like inferring all of this random bullshit just based on what these people happen to eat. And then at the end, it'll be like, yeah. So also, they like go out and meet their friends, and they have a strong community and like family ties. They don't work very hard. It's a very low stressed lifestyle.
No, that sounds like some communist bullshit. It's because they eat testicles.
And like, and the funny thing is, like, a lot of these places, like a lot of people smoke. They drink all the time, but like they're hanging out, they're having fun, they have family and shit like that. But like this is like a footnote at the end of. So is it their lifestyle? Is it their sense of community? Is it their strong familial ties? Is it the friendship that they have? Is it the fact that they don't like punch a clock at some fucking meaningless office job that they hate every day? Is it because they're like economically secure and they all take care of each other? No, it's the phytonutrients in the wine that they drink, or the protein content of the legume, or they don't eat a lot of saturated fat. That's why everybody lives to be 110 here on average. It's nothing else. That's it. That's why.
See, I was going to take this in a different direction because where I thought you were going with this was that, like, okay, a lot of these studies come out of, like, rural, like, bumfuck yokel villages up in the Alps or some shit, where it's like, okay, maybe people are reported to live to, like, 110 or some shit out there because everybody's fucking old and they don't take good care of their records, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just like the village of Abuela or some shit. So and we've all known her, so she's like 110. Why not?
That's very funny that you came up with that on your own, because that is the main. The previous thing is my take on that, but that's actually the main, like, actual pushback from the scientific community is that a lot of these, this is bumfuck nowhere. There's no government office anywhere close, and a lot of these people, they don't even know when they were born. They have no birth certificates. They have no government records or anything like that. So it's like, when were you born? They're like, they don't even know what fucking year it is. Like, they don't give a shit. So it's I was born in,
If somebody is like 110 right now, that means they would have been born around the time of, like, World War I, which, like, most of the fucking world was not taking good fucking records back then.
Absolutely
and, like,
not, especially in some, like,
It's only here in, like developed Western-ass countries where we even have started to take good records of those things in, like, the last couple decades, right?
Right.
So.
Yes, and so we're just like putting, like, our system on that and saying, like, oh, well, they must know exactly when they're born. It's like, no, they don't.
Yeah, surely there are no flaws in this, like, self-reported data from the locals who just, like, all knew this old woman for a few decades. Like, sure. Yeah, she's definitely 120.
Sure, but it makes for a great study that's going to get picked up by Popular Science and the Wall Street Journal and all these places that say, like, oh, you want to live forever? Eat olive oil and tofu.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to affirm some very normal and reasonable things people believe about other parts of the world.
Yes, exactly. The noble savage just living in their wonderful untouched place.
In Italy. The noble savages of Italy.
Yeah.
I joke, but okay, to bring myself down a little bit as well, I've been to Romania before, back when I was like 14 or 15, and I will say, on the road, like in the eastern part of the country, like around the capital, there's a lot of flat ass farmlands, and there's some villages I've passed through that look like straight out of, like, fucking, like, Resident Evil 8 or whatever. It's like, okay, there's the very, like, gangly, somewhat deformed looking guy pulling the cart behind him full of, like, hay bales or whatever. I'm like, good for you, dude.
Fuck yeah. Living that peasant lifestyle.
And it was even funnier too, because it was only like a 10-minute drive down the highway from, like, a McDonald's or some shit as well. So I don't know, life finds a way.
Yeah, he was coming back. He was trading bales of hay for a fucking junior value meal or whatever the fuck they have at McDonald's. I don't eat that goy slop. I only eat raw liver and butter.
Yeah, you go to a McDonald's in Romania, and you go into the back, and they just have, like, full, like, live ass chickens that are being beheaded back there. That's how you get the freshest chicken McNuggets.
Yum. See, I'd be down with that.
I don't know. I guess I would try it. I don't know. I don't have the heart to be that country about my lifestyle, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe someday.
Yeah. I mean, if you're eating nuggies, you might as well get the fresh off the truck nuggies. We don't need artisanal nuggies.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe before we wrap up today's episode, I just did want to, like, explore, okay, what are some of the reasons people believe this stuff? And I think the big one that I want to start off with right here is, I think it's about time we have, like, a kind of a reckoning, right, with what we consider to be mainstream media or not. Because I look at a lot of the, like, dumb, like, pseudoscience bullshit pushed on shows like Joe Rogan's podcast or whatever, and it's like, oh, it's a podcast, it's alternative, he's spitting the facts that they won't tell you on TV or some shit. But, like, I look at the Joe Rogan show, and, like, it gets more viewers than the average, like, actual news network every single fucking day, and he's, like, regularly talking to, like, people who I consider grifters, but like, okay, they're like rich and powerful fucking like billionaires and politicians and like fucking like highballing scam artists, like, and people publishing the weird books that these people like take as gospel or whatever. And I'm like, maybe it's about time we start considering this to be mainstream media, because I think a lot of these people get so much credit for being like, oh no, we're alternative, we're speaking truth to power, we're like the stuff they don't want you to know. And it's like, nowadays I feel like, man, everything seems like such a fucking scam. It feels like every single industry that the economy is built around is just like one scam on top of another, and people falling for stupid bullshit. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, we need to slam the brakes on this shit until we can figure out what the hell is going on.
Well, and that's a problem. This is the nefarious part of it, is the criticism, which is valid, of the lamestream media, we'll call it, is that it's bought and sold by powerful entities. You know, like if somebody owns the Washington Post or your local newspaper or something like that, and there's something that might get published there that might hurt their their buddy, or they hold stock in this company that you're gonna do a little negative article on there, they might squash that. And that's fair, like, for sure. And that still goes on now. I mean, like Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post.
Washington Post, yeah.
Yeah. And like, yeah, Rupert Murdoch, all that type of shit like that.
I mean, as much as we rag on it, Twitter/X.com, the everything app, is sadly a lot of people's like primary source of news.
Without question.
And it is significant to, all the regular fucking dumbasses that, make up the population, that, oh yeah, this did get bought by a fucking billionaire who's like clearly pushing a very, in my opinion, radical and like evil fucking agenda on there every fucking day,
Yeah, without question. So like, the response to this was, alternative media, and like, we can say whatever we want because we're not sponsored by anyone, and the problem with that, number one, is that there's no real like journalistic ethos there. You can kind of just say whatever you want, and like, whatever. There's no editor, there's no fact checking, all that type of shit. But the problem is now that dudes like Joe Rogan or Tim Pool or somebody like that, who are supposedly just dudes who talk, and like, they're not. Now all these people, they leverage this past idea, this legacy of being like, just a real, just straight off the cuff, just kind of like talk show where, that we can talk about whatever without being censored. And now, like, we know for sure that Tim Pool has been paid off by foreign actors to like push, like a pro-Russia, anti-Ukraine agenda.
Mm-hmm. And like, I know his defense is like, no, we had no idea. But it's like, if you accept that at face value, for him to be like negligent or like unaware of that, that would also imply, oh, you're like a big fucking dumbass, and that should invalidate your opinion on itself.
It's almost worse in a way. It's just like, oh, you're not even like intentionally scamming. You're just a fucking moron with a massive platform. And then you look at Joe Rogan, it's like, do I think Joe Rogan is like just like sitting in his fucking I don't know, his fucking DMT chamber with his bong and his like picture of a fucking chimpanzee's fat fucking balls staring him in the face, and just thinking like, oh, how do I fucking spread misinformation? No, but it's either one of two things. Like, he's just getting manipulated by people, or he realizes he's a fucking hack and a dumbass, and it's way easier and there's way less responsibility to align yourself with the alt-right when you're just a fucking moron who says anything without knowing anything. Because at the end of the day, Joe Rogan is an intellectually lazy, baby-brained fucking ape man who cannot form a coherent opinion. He just reacts to everything and is also a gullible fuck who will just like sit there and people just say the dumbest fucking shit that's like clearly to anyone with like a room temperature IQ or higher will be like, that doesn't sound right, and he'll just be like, bro, really, bro? Oh, that's fucking crazy, bro. That's fucking crazy.
It's almost like maybe we shouldn't get like our opinions about like society and culture and the world from people who like professionally took blows to the head for a living at any point.
Yeah, and or like their claim to fame is being on some dog shit fucking sitcom and like terrible reality show in the 90s, and then like.
Are you talking about Seinfeld? Because I fucking hate Jerry Seinfeld as well.
Well, so that's a very good point. Is Jerry Seinfeld is another just like whining, bitching, just washed up fucking loser with a bunch of money who people have to listen to because they used to watch Seinfeld back in 1996. And he knows he's washed up. He knows he's a loser, and he was never funny. He was never funny, just like Joe Rogan was never talented or had anything going on.
The airplane food guy has some very strong opinions about why kids don't actually think he's funny anymore. You won't believe where this goes.
yeah, and it's not because you were never funny, or it's not because you've been doing the same bit since fucking 96. It's because of wokeness. It's because comedy's woke now, and you can't just say whatever. So now you get canceled for doing your bit, which like the funny thing with these dudes is like they never really had like an edgy bit. Like Joe Rogan's comedy was just stool humping and screaming because he's not funny, so like he has to revert to like what the annoying kid who craves attention in middle school thinks is funny is like jumping on a table and pulling his shirt up and like dancing and going and just screaming something, whereas Jerry Seinfeld is like appealing to the most like boring individual on earth. Like, why do they fold napkins at the restaurant? You're just gonna unfold them.
What is the deal with puppy girls? They're a girl and a dog, but I call her a bitch and she gets mad at me. What's the deal with that?
That's edgy. That's you can't say that. You can't say that on
You
television.
can't say that on television. Yeah, I don't know. When it comes to like the comedians, right? I have this theory, right, that a lot of these people, they were like successful at some point in their career, and the thing about comedy, right, is like, okay, what's funny one day is not going to be funny the next.
Yeah.
You know, what we consider, what we laugh at, you know, that has a very short lifespan. And these people who like had a lot of like success in their career, you know, I don't think Jerry Seinfeld was ever fucking funny, but he was a successful like stand-up comedian at some point. And I think these people feel like they feel like people owe them more prestige and recognition than they're getting at this point in their career. So like, I don't know, is it that I'm washed up and I'm not funny anymore? No, it's that the people are wrong. I'm a comedic genius and I deserve to be recognized for that.
Right.
And there's like a whole conspiracy theory. There's like a nefarious group of people in the culture that are like making people think I'm not funny for their own reasons or whatever. Which, I don't know, my other take about all this stuff is it does kind of like on its own necessitate a conspiratorial kind of thinking, because when you hear about people talk about all these like raw foods and like raw meat and raw milk or whatever, it's like, wow, if this stuff is so healthy, then why isn't everybody eating like this? And you know, the next question there is, well, okay, I guess that means that there's a cover up. I guess big pharma, big meat, whatever, doesn't want you to know about this one weird trick to living a healthy traditional lifestyle, and it all just like spirals out from there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like cope. It's cope, and it's in like I've heard this take before, and I'm not going to say I necessarily agree with this, but it would make sense, just like aligned with what we're talking about here, is like that conspiracy theories are pushed by the quote unquote powers that be, to detract and deflect from things that are actually like demonstrably like conspiracies, but like are they really conspiracies when it's just right out there in the open? It's just like, yeah, we can't talk about how, like, the healthcare industry is like a massive fucking scam, and in like shit like this. No, it's about like the reason that you're having a hard time in life is because like the deep state and like chemtrails, and because they're poisoning your food with something or other, and then like in like you can even like narrow it down to shit like, okay, like you're concerned about the food you eat. Go look into like Monsanto and glycophosphate and stuff like that. Like, this is like on the books. This isn't like some secret. Like, you can see that this shit is not good, and we should stop using it. And a lot of other countries have banned it. But like, I mean, fuck that. It's because,
I wonder
if
we could like get the chuds mad at Monsanto because it sounds like vaguely Hispanic. You think that there's something there?
just say it's like DEI, government hiring. They got some Hispanic company to come spray my crops with poison.
El Monsanto is making the frogs gay.
Yeah, and I'm still looking for the gay frog chemical. I've been drinking a lot of tap water, still straight, pissing me off.
Yeah, well,
pissing me off.
Subscribe to our Patreon, and maybe we'll mail you some special water that I get from. You don't need to know where the water's made, but
yeah,
I don't know. I guess to wrap things up here, I just look at like people have all this like insane distrust over what they consider to be like the experts, the quote unquote experts, which I guess are like scientists and like physicians and people who do this stuff for a living. But the thing is, all these people are very quick to trust the other kinds of experts, people who are experts at like lying and selling snake oil and like coming up with dumb fucking grifts and books full of bullshit to sell to their gullible fucking audiences. Those are, I don't know, those are the real experts that I'm more worried about in my fucking day to day.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, not to get too deep into it, but like, I really think part of the problem is like, as we move more by the day into like a fully secular society, and of course religion's still like a powerful force in modern society and shit like that, but is it anywhere near it was 500 fucking years ago, or even 200, even 100 years ago? Absolutely not. But when people lose that just unquestioning faith in some higher authority, even if they still call themselves Catholics or Muslims or Jews or whatever the fuck, but I really think a lot of people, and I think this is a cornerstone of conservatism, especially, not that it's just conservatives, but they need some sort of like powerful daddy figure to tell them what to do, and to give them like an outline, like a just a general framework on how to live their lives. Because when you're completely rudderless and out there on your own, for a lot of people it's really fucking scary. So yeah, and that's why we see so many people latch on to these grifters, aside from, and there's other things too, of course, but yeah, I think at the end of the day it all comes down to people trying to deal with the anxieties of life, which are ever so mounting in this day and age, and sometimes they they look to the wrong fucking person. I mean, you could see that this is how cults start, and a lot of other really bad shit. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like this is kind of a point that I feel like I've been hammering at home the last couple episodes, but I keep bringing up this idea of things being like about spirituality, right? And when I use that word, I'm referring very specifically to I think spirituality is what is the collection of like narratives and ideas that people believe to be true about the world, like how they see everything. And the thing about all these like grifts or whatever is I think they're very appealing to a certain kind of person, because all the claims that they're making, all the things that they're selling feel very like spiritually true to a lot of people. It is compelling, to believe like, okay, there's all these like nefarious corporations that are making us unhealthy because they also sell us like medicine and cures and things like that, so we're like locked into their products, and we want to break free from that somehow or whatever. Or like you look at the no fat people or whatever, and they'll be like, look, the porn industry is sick and twisted, so we gotta break free from that and like reclaim some independence over the world, and latch on to this like idea of like purity, like ambiguous purity, whatever the fuck that means, that we had in the past but has been like lost in some way. I think this is like a big part of the like vaguely Christian worldview. Not that this is like a specific thing preached in churches, but I do think like you grow up in like Western ass countries with like a hegemonic Christian culture. A lot of people believe in this idea that we live in like a fallen state or whatever. Like there was some ideal past, and now we're like sinful and corrupted and like fucked up little guys or whatever. And that's why people like latch on to these things. And I look at like a lot of the efforts that have been made over the years to like combat this stuff, right? And you have people who are like, well, let's just educate everybody about the science, and then they'll know that they were factually wrong, and they'll have the facts on their side, and they'll believe the correct things. And I think now maybe based on some recent events, but also the last couple years, I'm starting to feel like I don't think the facts are enough. I think we're not getting through to these people because we can't sell them anything else that's like spiritually true to them. When we say, correct things, like scientists know more about like biology and chemistry and like medicine than you and your dumb fucking friends know through like looking at Facebook articles. That's true. That's correct. Scientists do know fucking better than you. They are experts for a reason. They went to school for many years. And that's just true on its face. But like that's not enough for some people, because it's like a boring and like just very factual, like matter-of-fact way of seeing the world. And it doesn't matter that like that is where the evidence points, because it's never going to be enough for some people. They need like a bad guy and like righteous figures and like heroes and strongmen or whatever to make things make sense in the world. And I don't know what we do about that necessarily, but it does like color the way I talk about a lot of things on this show, because like, yeah, we're right about bullshit, but like this isn't like a high research show or anything. I when we talk about things on here, I try to get at something more like narrative, more like intuitively true about the way we see the world, because I don't know, I'm just kind of fed up with a lot of these like very dry academic people spouting bullshit on YouTube that like we agree with 100%, but like I don't think they're reaching anybody.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing too, is like for some people, religion is like science is a religion to them, in a sense, where it's just like, well, that's what they said, and like that's it. Here you go. The facts speak for themselves. It's like, well, no, we still, just as like a priest needs to interpret the words of God to their like congregation, there need to be people who are communicators and interpreters to this, who can actually relate to people in a relatable way, and also like, unfortunately, science fundamentally is the best framework we have to explore the truth and what we should actually do to benefit everyone in the world. But it's also an institution like anything else, which is seeing a lot of corruption and bullshit. I mean, if you look at the university system now, like it's pretty fucked. And I mean, we've seen, like, with the examples we talked about, like with the blue zones and shit like that. There's a lot of cooking of the evidence. There's a lot of more not even nefarious, but like lazy communicators of this science, where they just see an article headline, don't even read it, or can't because they don't have the they don't have the skills to do that, and then they're just like, oh, a study said that you live forever if you eat olive oil, and it's not great. So The thing is, I mean, I guess I'll come away with this. This will be my positive ending note, is if you feel that you are equipped to look at these things, and you are equipped to communicate with people in a relatable way that will, you know, get them out of, you know, some sort of negative fucking mindset, or stop watching Joe Rogan, or I don't know, reading these fucking dog shit articles or blogs or something like that. Well, maybe you know, maybe get on that shit, because we need more people who can do that. And if you can't, tell everybody you know to listen to the one podcast that can do that, which is Super Despair World.
Hell yeah, I agree. In fact, I'm going to be a little more blunt and cynical about it. I honestly feel like even if you think you are good at explaining things, I think you have to consider, like, am I going to reach people who don't, like, already agree with me necessarily? I feel like, you know, a lot of the good science explainers out there, they do come across very, like, you know, for lack of a better word, very, like, soy and kind of liberal, and kind of like cosmopolitan and, like, educated or whatever. And, like, I don't know, I look at the kind of show we do, and, like, don't get me wrong, like, Dave and I aren't, like, total dumbasses. Like, we've both been to college, you know, we've both lived the city life for so many years, but, like, it's a at least for me, it's a point to not sound like some wimpy ass, like, fucking bread tuber on this show or whatever. I think, you know, not to say, you know, this is like a character we're putting on, or an act or something like that. You know, the way I talk on this show is very much the way I talk to people in my everyday life, with all the vulgarity and like dumb tangents and shit like that. But I feel like, I don't know, I think we need a better way of reaching people who aren't necessarily coming at things from the same cultural background, people who might have a different set of things they consider to be, like, spiritually true, which you aren't going to, like, convince them out of, but, like, you can navigate in its own way. Like, you know, I think Joe Rogan's show exists for no other reason than to launder the opinions of the rich and powerful to, like, his schlubby audience of, like, dumb fuck, like, fail sons or whatever. But, like, the thing is, you know, Joe Rogan reaches a lot of people because they're like, oh yeah, he's just like a schlubby dumbass like me, maybe I should pay attention to what he's selling. And, like, I don't know, I guess it's my hope that maybe someday, through being kind of vulgar schlubby dumbasses ourselves, we'll reach some people that my peers who share many of my opinions are not gonna reach otherwise. But I don't know, maybe I'm being a little too candid about our fucking agenda on this show.
No, I mean, I'm open about that. Fuck yeah, listen to our shit. Other than Joe Rogan's, like, I'm stoned in some random person's bedroom talking about whatever simulator. Fuck all that shit.
Yeah, one day everybody will know that we were correct all along, and hopefully we'll have a very big Patreon paycheck every month to show for it.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's been so many times where I've just been proven right by the passage of time, and still people don't listen to me. I mean, they do sometimes, but they should more. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and they should invest in Despair Coin, make a lot of money real quick. Buy now. Time is running out.
Yeah, merch.superdespairworld.com. I'll put an NFT out there real quick.
Yeah, all right. We're already shilling our stuff, so let's wrap it up. Let's thank the people who do actually shell out real ass money every month to make this thing go on.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Here's to our patrons: Trash Bins Nick, Protagon Woke Baby, Trevor Stilson, Heresy, Nilly, Weasel, Walker, and Clam. Much love, as always, to all of you for continuing to support this amazing project that we have going on here, which will only get bigger as time goes on. I'm
all of you are the real kings in my heart, and more importantly, my liver.
yeah. We only have like a few 100,000 spots to go until we beat the Joe Rogan podcast in viewer numbers. So keep those listens coming in, baby.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't find enough interesting stuff to talk about him, but besides the Liver King, apparently there's another guy that calls himself the Testicle King that's all about eating, like, bull testicles or whatever. So maybe we can overtake that. Maybe we can become the real kings and queens of testicles on the internet.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. It reminds me, there was one guy I saw on TikTok that he was just eating a raw cow brain and drinking a cup of raw eggs. And I think he was trying to be like Liver King, great value version, but he had a similar look, a roided out, just ballooned human, just eating weird shit. And I guess last thing I'll end on, if you're a scrawny boy like me and you see guys like that and it's just like that's what I want to do, that's how I become cool. It's not. They take steroids. Do that, I guess, if you but nobody cares about that. So just don't. You're fine.
Yeah, and if you're getting up there in years and maybe you're worried about balding or losing your hair, I can think of some drugs to help with that.
yeah, that's
more about that on our Patreon episodes. Though I gotta tease it out. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good night.
Fuck yeah, good fight, good night.